And also, we've got a very special guest who's going to be joining us tonight in the studio right now. So it's not going to be myself and Rat and also Daddy Vass, but this man also.
There's a bigger advantage for the Blues, losing their number 7. They're up the middle, the Blues, with Carney. Passes, gets it to Stewart. He's got the pace. He's inside 20. He's inside 10. He scores. Rich Stewart scores his second try of the night. Brilliant performance by Carney to make the break.
Former Cronulla winger Dean Carney. No, I'm only joking. He did play for Cronulla as well. Also, 2010 Dally M winner, Todd Carney. How are you, Tony?
Yeah, good. I was a little bit nervous talking about the first day of school and then the first day of the radio, so it's a little bit nervous on the way and seeing Rat on the way at the door. So it was a good welcome.
Yeah, no, good to have you here, actually, because a lot to talk to you about. We're going to talk about your career, just generally what we like to do tonight, which is I'm going to get through some of the segments really soon and get you to join into those as well. You've signed on another year, going to coach the Byron Bay Red Devils.
Yep, got the Red Devils, got Maddie's son, Jack, coming down this year.
So big signing.
Big signing.
I'm looking forward to getting down there to watch them go around.
It's a good Sunday afternoon.
Spend the weekend down in Byron.
We've got a lot of listeners in the Northern Rivers as well, so yeah.
It'll be good.
How's the team shaping up, Toddy?
We're getting there. I took the job late, so I was a little bit chasing our tails a little bit, but getting Jack will help. Just got to sign a few forwards. I'm off to PNG next week to try and bring a few back over. So,
geez, recruiting in country footy.
Can I just say, is there if there's any footy players out there, any front rowers? Toddy's looking for some front rowers. Go live in Byron. Live in Byron Bay. Yeah. Play for the Red Devils.
Yeah.
Get a good crowd down there for the game.
We do get a good turnout. It's always busy on the hill, especially when you play against the bigger clubs. They always bring a good crowd and it gets fiery.
Shout out to you, Ballina.
Yeah, Ballina. They always beat us.
No, it's not happening next year. Not this year.
Actually, I'll get you to think about this. Also for the listeners, 0457 736 736 or 8833 for our Kiwi listeners. We'll talk about local footy. I mean, the grassroots footy. There's always scandals or funny stories that come out of. And I was reading something over the weekend. I sent it to you guys. I was just telling Toddy about it. And there's all these things going up. I think it was NRL Roast, wasn't it, Daddy Vass?
Yeah.
So everyone was sending in their stories about local footy scandals. There's a couple there. There's a guy that in the early 90s used to play rugby union before it turned professional. He played both codes every weekend. But he had to register his league contract under another name, and his name was Mitch Buchanan, who, of course, is from
Baywatch.
Yeah. And this one, I couldn't believe this one. But a player used to crap himself before the game so the opposition didn't want to tackle him.
Oh, God.
Yeah. That is something that's gone around.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
I've never heard that before.
I've got one. I won't mention his name.
No, you can.
I won't mention his name. He signed at the Roosters the year I did. He was a hooker.
What about all the listeners doing the Googling now?
When he scored a try at his previous club, he jumped the fence and clapped himself. He used to reckon, he said he used to go to the toilet before the game. Not a number one, number two, and not wipe his backside. He was in the middle of the scrum.
Mate, I did tackle him a few times. I think I did get a bit of a whiff from time to time.
That's horrendous. That's the worst I've heard.
So I won't mention his name.
Yeah.
It's pretty much there for you.
So any local footy scandals, doesn't matter whether it's
play.
rugby, AFL, cricket, rugby league, send it in 0457 736 736 or 8833. On the show tonight, Nine's Premier League founder Anthony Mitchell. We've spoken to him previously. Now, this is going to be quite a big event in years to come. He's marketed it really well. Toddy, you're playing in this, aren't you? It's next weekend.
This Thursday is the launch, and then first game's 8 o'clock Friday.
But it's starting to build into a really big event, isn't it? There's a lot of teams, a lot of ex-NRL players are playing in it as well.
So there's a few last year. There probably would have been maybe 10 across the whole team. But now, look, Alex Glenn's put his own team in with all ex-Brisbane players. Obviously, there's an RLPE team. James Maloney's playing for the Southern Sharks. Benny Barber and Matt Bowen have got a team. I'm playing with Birdie and Brad Takarangi from a Cronulla team.
So tell us the story. Was it a year that Greg Bird, who you said just takes everything as serious, like it's World War III?
When I went and watched him play for Southport and nearly decapitated about 4 kids he was playing against a couple of years ago. He's out full on. And you remember we spoke to Linny.
He played in that
Carl Webb charity game. We asked him who took it seriously. He goes, Greg Bird wanted to kill people.
Didn't he play in the night? Was it last year?
Last year. So with the first game we played against a Brisbane team, and had a few big Ireland, and I could see him before the game. He goes, "I'm going to take one of these blokes' heads off." First tackle of the game, he just spears in, comes out, split across his head like a horseshoe.
Yeah.
Goes up to Rabina Hospital, gets it stitched up, comes back down a few hours later, and we'll just about play our last 2 games. And he was about to run on. He was that keen to get back out
mate.
there. He loves it.
He is a unit. He absolutely loves it. Yeah.
Also, this tonight.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
Ugh, yeah. Like it or lump it as well.
I'm still not loving that intro. It's
I love
horrible.
it. I love it. Daddy Vash rang me today, actually. He goes, you know that like it or lump it, you know the noise that girl makes? And I said, yeah. He goes, it was Elaine off Seinfeld, wasn't it?
No,
No,
Harry
Ryan.
met Harry met Sally.
The cafe scene.
Yeah. I'll have what she's having.
Completely got it wrong.
Also, we'll try and fit Tubes into the show.
Come on, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, a little bit
that's
later on.
ridiculous. There's got to be an investigation into this. This has got to be, someone's got to be accountable for this.
Yeah, so if you've got any That's Ridiculous or Like It or Lump It's as well, send it through on the text line. Hey, Rat D. Oh, Rat D for attendance. Rabbit Borough tomorrow.
No, well, I come when I'm required.
Yeah.
I think I've got an A for attendance, Rabbit Borough. I'm here now. I got asked to come when I'm here. Look, I'd come more, but I just got to speak to the powers that be. I'm just not in the budget. It's not in the budget.
Well, I might give up some of my salary to.
Oh,
for you.
mate, you're such a team player, Sats.
Sats, as you know, I'm a big audio books podcasts while I'm exercising. Steve from Dubbo says, but I stumbled on the James Graham podcast. The Todd Carney episode was outstanding.
Yeah, I'll second that. I loved it, listened to that. And I guess, just touching on that, you talked a lot about, growing up, like you grow into a man. We're young kids when we start playing footy, and you think, you can't, you're bulletproof and you can do whatever you want and you're still playing, but you've certainly got a different attitude to it all now, yeah?
Yeah, definitely. And it took me a long time to obviously grow up with the stuff that I'd done throughout my career. But I had to realise to grow up fast after I'd finished, because a loss of identity and then trying to struggle where you fit and what you want to do for work. And then obviously with my employment now, working with young youth and then having a partner and a son, I just couldn't do the things I was doing. So I had to grow up real quick. Otherwise, it was going to spiral out of control real quick. And I'm glad I did. The last 10 months has changed my life, and it's things like this. I wouldn't have been in this position to even sit in here to talk, because I wouldn't have put myself out there, because I don't know, I just wouldn't have been there. Just opportunity wouldn't have arisen. So, yeah, it's been a lifelong life change. Yes.
Yeah. Mate, I read something today. There was an article that just came out. I sent it across to you, Sats, about the importance of community sporting clubs and what they do for people and for young men, particularly in their mental health. Now, I know you would have had some dark times. What did going back to those community clubs and playing? Like, you were down in Goulburn, I think, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. What did going back to clubs like that do for you when you couldn't play at the level that you were certainly had the ability to? But what did it do for you mentally to go back to those sort of clubs and be a part of that sort of community?
Well, when I left Canberra in 2008 and then got my visa declined to go to the UK for 2009, I moved to Cairns, lived in a pub, worked in the pub.
Is that the Atherton table?
Yeah,
Atherton Roosters, yeah.
And that was just, obviously it made me the love of the game to come back. And it was a challenge to be out of my comfort zone. Previous that year, my dad had passed away. So to get away from my family, to live in a pub and then work in a pub and then play bush footy on a weekend, just seeing the passion from the supporters, the fans, and then obviously the guys that are playing that have been working all day, slugging it out in the lumping bananas and then turn up to train and play. Just the passion they have for it made me realise that how lucky we are to play the game we did and what you get from it.
Yeah, there's a lot of good people in rugby league, isn't there?
Oh, so good.
Oh, I mean, you just, we had, and we're talking about liking or lumping. What I'm lumping at the moment is, we're, like every 6 or 3 to 6 months, about 50 Cronulla crew come up from down at Cronulla for a 50th or a 40th, and it's 3 days of fun and frivolity and all that sort of
You
stuff.
never grow up.
I'm lumping that. I said, can we do this once every couple of years? But you just realise the friendships you make, the connections, they last a lifetime. It's a pretty special environment that we've got to be a part of, all of us.
Yep. Yeah, you're right. I'm liking Toddy's story. It's
loving
awesome. We're going to hear more from Toddy, not only tonight, but hopefully in days and weeks to come as well. Willie, I'm lumping. If you're a Broncos fan, Duddy Vass. You got to be lumping the scenes at Red Hill today. Adam Reynolds being helped from and looked like in a lot of distress as well.
Yeah, the fact that he had to get helped off the field this afternoon didn't look good. I'm really concerned about our prospects this year, boys.
What are we, 6
Well,
weeks?
being a rock solid member.
Yeah.
Now that I'm a member.
Of a day.
Hey, what are we lumping that not only Australia Day is not going to be celebrated on Friday at the Australian Open, are you lumping that the cricket also is apparently... Now, I don't know historically whether the cricketers celebrated Australia Day if a test was on, but because usually the fans dress up and celebrate it anyway, don't they? Do we care that there's not going to be any address around it?
I care to a degree. I care that that the powers that be can't get their heads together and just change the date. It has a profound effect on the Indigenous community that day. Move the day. How hard is it? Like you were talking, you're saying that you have to have a referendum around it. Like surely,
if you want to play the date, if you want to change the date, it's a very big process. But
how is it a big process? Just change the date.
If you're the PM, you should be able to say, you know what,
you're the big
if we need
poobah,
to,
you're the grand poobah.
If we need to. But what he did say, Anthony Albanese, is stop looking for areas in which we need to be outraged. We need to come together. This is the epitome of splitting people apart.
That's right. So change the date. May 8. Perfect.
Mate.
I
love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
They were making changes for the soccer team if they won, weren't they?
Yeah, are they going to give us a public
So
holiday?
surely they can change it.
No, bang on. There you go.
Oh, I tell you what I'm lumping. That
What?
Wayne Bennett's been mentioned as a possible New Zealand coach.
I think you...
This is nothing against Wayne.
No. You messed up before because you said you liked it.
No, I meant lumping.
And you meant lump it.
Yeah.
But I just can't believe that they're considering someone outside of New Zealand to coach them after the blow-ups with Madge.
They're at the stage
and Tony
now.
Kemp was blowing up about it. And
Well, they're at the stage now where they've got to stand on their own 2 feet, haven't they? They got guys like Stacey Jones. They've got Nathan Kalis as well.
Steve Carney.
Steve Carney, yeah. So,
Ruben Wiki in there.
well, he'd be part of any sort of coaching team. He's usually part of the strength and conditioning. Big
I think with a nation that's beaten Australia at times in World Cups and like what?
Well, they're flying New Zealand at the moment. They don't need an Australian coach.
No.
Did you play with Muss?
Yeah,
Ruben Wiki?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
He's frightening, wasn't
Yes, he was very frightening. He was really good to me. Took me under his wings. He was a
One of the great human beings, isn't he?
Great guy. Always had your best interest at heart. And
he? You used to go and do a toss with him before the game and he'd give you a hug. He'd go, yeah, bro.
And then absolutely flog you.
He'd go across that line and he just turned to an absolute serial killer. Ridiculous.
Did you say much before the game, like rev the boys up?
he was a actions first, talk later.
His presence alone,
just him being in the room, like
Yeah.
doing defensive and wrestling sessions as a kid with him. He's just like, oh shit.
I'll tell you what I am liking. 49ers winning yesterday, beating your Green Bay Packers. I'm loving that.
I knew that was going to
I'm
happen.
absolutely loving that.
Yeah. I tell you what I'm lumping.
What?
People who say in some parts of wherever you are today, there are some parts who have got up to 38 or 40 degrees. But I hate it when
it's hot.
it's going to be a hot summer, eh? I hate it. I'm lumping when people say it's 32, but it feels like 38.
No, it's 38 in my eyes.
If it's 38, it's 38.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
I'm liking Novak Djokovic.
Yeah.
So explain to me why, because
liking him.
I reckon a year ago you would have been one of the haters of him.
No.
2 years ago, sorry.
No. I'm
You
loving
sure?
it.
We need to go back and get some tape of him bagging Novak.
I love it when someone in the crowd has a go at him. He just turns around and goes, hey, jump down here. I'm a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'll choke you out, firstly. And I love it when the guy 2 nights later goes, get vaccinated on match point. So he drills a 240K first serve down to win the game. I love that. I like it.
Yeah.
Can you like Ed Lump?
Yeah.
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 Well, I'm liking hanging out with Clinton O'Brien, your great mate.
Won a comp with Newcastle in 2001. Salmon, they call him.
Yeah, the big
got one
salmon.
on him.
But I tell you what, I'm lumping.
What?
He never shouts coffee. I'm going broke. I'm going broke. I'm sick
He's
of
the
it.
tightest man I've ever met.
Hey,
Who's the tightest guy
he
you've met in
listens.
rugby
He'd be
league?
listening.
Yeah, he knows the toddy's on. He'd be listening.
Greg Bird.
Is he tight?
Him and Gal.
Yeah, Greg Bird.
I've heard
Mate,
Gal's
Greg Bird, when he came
He'll
back
have his
from
first check.
when he came back from France and his container hadn't arrived back here, he had we played golf 3 or 4 times a week. He had a rotation of 2 shirts for like a month, and they just got so manky and they just stunk. And I'm like, mate, buy a shirt. He goes, no, He goes, I got shirts in my container. I'm like, mate, get another shirt. I had to give him shirts to wear. It's horrendous.
Canara Cowboy on the text line says, Big Ruben Wiki loved the carver as well, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah? I tried it the first time a few years ago in Fiji, just before COVID. I couldn't feel my tongue, my lips. The world was spinning. I didn't know where I was. It was horrendous.
Why did Canara Cowboy say, Big love the carver as well, gentlemen, and rat? So, like, you're a gentleman and I'm a rat.
You're the easy target.
Yeah,
You're the easy
nice.
target.
Thanks.
Let's get to the break. Toddy Carney's going to hang around throughout the show. We'll ask a few more questions after the break. If you want to get involved, 0457 736 736, or if you're in New Zealand, 8833. This is Sports Day with Sats and Rat. Yeah, welcome back to the show for a Monday night. Scotty Sattler, Matty Rogers back in the seat as well, and Woogie would be listening in some place called Lombokan or some island. Is that what it's called, Toddy?
Lombok.
Nusa Lombongan. Because Toddy, he's basically a native of Bali. What you've got a Airbnb up there?
Airbnb and a tattoo shop.
Actually, on tattoos, Daniel from Prairie Wood, you've stolen my thunder here. Listening on the SEN app. Between Rat and Todd, is there any room for a spare tattoo? There's enough ink to supply stationery across the office works across the nation.
I do have a bit.
Who between the pair has more tattoos?
I think Toddy's got me covered.
I used to copy Rat's tattoos. I did. When he first got the dice and the flames.
Yeah.
Have you got anything on your legs, Rat?
Just my calves. No. But I'm actually going to get this portrait done on my thigh here of my dad and my brother and I, which is by this tattooist who's just brilliant with portraits.
Is your brother going to have a cowboy hat on?
No, it's when we were kids. But it's just, you got to have the portraits done when the sun doesn't hit them. So it's, I'm looking forward to getting it.
I think he's got you. I'm looking at his legs.
Oh, yeah, he's got me.
Yeah, he's got you.
He's got me.
What's the arrow on the inside of your thigh? What's that mean?
I've just got little ones, hopeless ones in the arrow.
They're
too painful to get.
Is there one on your body, Toddy, that you sort of look at it and go, what did I get that for?
Yeah.
Oh, I've got heaps of
thing on
those.
my right shoulder. I remember the first day I turned up at 17 years old at the Raiders, one of my first preseason.
Were you clean then?
I was
clean skin, yeah.
And then turned up this dirty thing on my fat arm. And they just looked at me and didn't say nothing, just looked and shook their head as what are you doing?
Who was the coach back then?
Matty Elliott. Simon Wolford gave me a pasting. Ryan O'Hara gave it to me for the rest of the time he was at the club. It was just, I don't know why.
The things you do, eh?
Yeah, the things you do.
And here's me and Daddy Vass, no tats at all.
No.
Oh, have you got a tat?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. You've got like
look
a
at
barley
you.
leaf or something.
Is that a Barbie doll? Oh, no, it's a Barbie leaf.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So, Toddy, let's talk about you a little bit in relation to the 2010 year. Dally M Medal winner of the year. The Roosters go on a run and get beaten by the Dragons in the grand final. What was the difference from 2010 to, you had a great career, over 200 games and played for your country, state of origin. But 2010 was something different because you spent some time at fullback. Is there anything else that changed?
Well, like I said, in 2009, I spent a year in Cairns. I signed at the Roosters when Freddie was the coach, and obviously was really looking forward to that. That year he got punted, and then Brian Smith took the job. And turning up to the Roosters, like anyone when you first have had a year off, I had my doubts. And my first interview with Smithy was, he said, I'm going to play at fullback.
Had you ever played fullback?
Never played fullback.
NRL, yeah.
No, but I played like a fullback when Jason Smith was at Canberra. So I swung from right to left, and that's what Smithy said. He goes, I think you'll be good enough. My first question was, what about Minnie? And then he said to me, well, what about Braith? He's the captain of the club. Like, if you think you're going to come in and play six, So I just said to him, if that's where you want me to play, I'll do whatever I can. And Brian's son, Rowan Smith, helped me so much.
He's got a good brain, Rowan Smith.
And then after Christmas in 2009, so it started 2010, Smithy sat me down and pretty much gave me a blunt message. He told me to get off the piss. Didn't want me to drink at all. And a lot of the boys at the club of that year were doing the same thing. And we swore off it. We didn't drink. That was probably a big thing. But just focusing on footy, knew that I had a job to do in front of me. I had to challenge myself to get better because I'd never played fullback, and just trying to prove myself back. Had a point to prove. And as you said, we got beat in the grand final.
You had them at half time. I thought you were going to get them.
Yeah.
Dragons.
A few errors in the first half. Their first two tries, one was a forward pass, and Brett Morris's foot was out with the other one. But they just rolled us in the second half. Like, I thought coming up in half time, we were in the box seat.
Oh, They
just stormed through us. Jamie Soward's kicking game, and Gaznia and Matt Cooper just burn us on the edges.
Well, you certainly made a difference because in 2009, that Roosters side got the wooden spoon.
Yeah.
So,
They did too, yeah.
I mean, I think it was the first time a side's gone from the wooden spoon to the grand final.
He's a little bit like that, Brian Smith, wasn't he? From more reports, he was. I remember Gordon Tallis saying he's the best coach he's ever had, but he's also the worst coach he's ever had because he
Very detail orientated.
for 2 or 3 years he'd be great, and then year 4 your head would be just full of so much information. You didn't know whether you could look left or right.
He was just a lot of skills. So we didn't have a big preseason of running. We were just heaps of skills, and obviously they'd burn us out. But one thing I always noticed with Smithy, he was never at the start of the sessions. He'd always hide in the trees, watching to see blokes what they were doing before they started. But yeah, I enjoyed my time with Smithy. He got a lot out of me. Obviously, moving me to fullback was a challenge, but I played probably some of the best football there. But then after 2010 season, me and him had a bit of a falling out, and it obviously was, looking back on it now, it was my fault. But for a while I blamed him because he just pretty much put it straight to me. Is that you got to earn what you deserve, like, to get further. And at that point in 2011, I wasn't working hard to get anything.
It's a big thing, when you retire and you mature, and like you're saying, you look back at it and go, you know what, I think it was my fault. Oh, it's a big admission.
Oh yeah,
isn't it?
I mean, I think we've all had times in our career when you're not actually you're there based on what you've done, not because of the hard work you're doing. And you get called out on it. It's easy to get your back up, but as you get older, you think, no, you're right.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Mate, Origin debut. What did that mean to you, and how did you feel? Stepping onto that Origin arena.
You came in against that one of the greatest, probably the greatest Origin period. We'll never probably see it again.
Yeah. So in 2012 was obviously, I thought I was going to get a chance in 2010 with my form, but didn't. Then it come when I got to Cronulla, and it was obviously a relief. It was something that I'd always wanted, and I remember the first week's camp was obviously there's a lot of talk about the Queensland team and are we going to be the team that breaks it and all that stuff. But I remember the first game in Melbourne.
Who was the coach?
Ricky Stewart.
Okay, yep.
The first game in Melbourne, just before warm up, someone goes to me, "You're gonna get changed." I was sitting there, just like in a daze because I was obviously soaking it all in. Everyone's got their shorts and socks on ready to go. I'm still sitting in my suit, and I played like that.
Yep.
I played like that. It just went so quick. I had a penalty early in the game, missed it. And didn't find touch, so it got me straight away, and obviously found me feet. I only played the 1 year, which is
just slaps you in the face, doesn't it?
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's
first
so
tackle was like I'd never been tackled before. It was like stars everywhere. But yeah, it was a dream come true, and obviously I would have liked to play plenty of more, but I just didn't pan out that way.
Yeah. Who do you love watching now in the game? I mean, we've got so many great, talented young players coming through, but who are the players that you think, geez, I don't want to miss that?
Nathan Cleary.
He's unbelievable, isn't he?
Someone said the other day to me, who do you reckon will win the comp this year? And I said Penrith again, just purely because of him.
Yeah.
Just like I follow him on Instagram, and like he's obviously a lot younger, but he's cool. He's just the way he is. Like when they were leading up to the grand final this year, just his presence and the things he was saying, like he goes, we're working to something. And then when they won it last year, he spoke about that they're going to get better. But that's a quiet confidence because he knows that he's going to get better himself, and he is getting better than the things they talk about, that he's first on the field, last off the field. After winning 4 grand finals, you think, maybe he might chuck his feet up. But he's 25 years old.
He's much maligned too, isn't he? He cops it from a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like he's much maligned, like in areas of the game where they, give him a hard time about his origin and
he's bulletproof,
that, mate.
He's won 3 Origins.
Well, what he did in that grand final last year, I'm still like shaking my head about it.
Yeah.
To pick that kick in behind, he 4th tackle, Cobbo's out of position, sees it, pulls it off, puts a try on, scores a try, like. You just
the try that Crichton scored in that northwestern corner.
Yep.
And he nailed it from the sideline, the kick. Like that's the biggest play, because if he scores a try and kicks it, they're going the golden point.
Yeah.
And then people that don't watch footy or don't understand it, or we're like, Brisbane's let it slip. No, Brisbane didn't let it slip. Clearly turned the game on its head, and it was just in big moments. That 20-minute period was like Joey's in 2005.
Yeah.
Like it was just, he owned the game, took everything he needed to, the 40-20, the short play down the sideline, knew when to run. But I think obviously when Luai went off, when Cogger come on, it just freed Cleary up. He went to second receiver. Cogger straightened up the team, and Cleary just done his thing. It's as a half, it's just like, and I worked hard at my game, and it's like he's just getting better and better every time he plays. He's just always at it. And as I said, the goal kicking, he very rarely misses.
It's just amazing. Now, the skill level in the game. Now, Sats retired in 1986, so we definitely know the game's evolved since then. I retired in 2010. The game certainly evolved since I played. Since you played, what do you think of the skill level of the players now? Are you seeing a different level of talent that's coming through the ranks?
I think the game's definitely getting faster. And I spoke to Piercy before he went over to the UK when he was talking about going back to the Roosters or leaving Newcastle to go elsewhere. And I said to him, why don't you want to go to another club? And he sort of said, he goes, the game was getting too fast, that he didn't feel like it was suiting him enough anymore.
Yep.
But his skill was obviously better than anyone's, but he just felt that he couldn't keep up in that area. And that's where I think it is now. Like, the players obviously getting better. And I think the halves and players in key positions are just getting better at their job of what they've got to do. Like Reece Walsh, like the way he pops up,
he's
just like they're just getting better and better. Like, and they're the standout players.
And that's what you want, isn't it? You want this game to be so elite, and that's what and I harp on about the NFL. There's only 32 teams, and they've got 400 million people. They could have another 32 teams easily, but they won't, because they want it to be the elite. I'm against this big expansion of let's have more teams, because more isn't always better. I like it to be, like, you've got to be elite to play in this competition. And we're seeing, teams that are elite. And unfortunately, because, I think we've got too many teams, we're seeing teams getting pumped and they're not even in the mix.
Yeah, I notice it a little bit because I watch a fair bit of footy, you notice there's always talk about the kids coming through the junior system, and I believe they'll get there, but there's so much hype on some halves coming through all the time, and then they get there, and the hype goes straight off them, and I feel for the player because they've got all this hype, they get their crack at it, they don't live up to the hype that they've had the whole time.
And it's not them.
It's not them.
No.
It's the hype just drops off, and they're like, oh, well, where do I go now?
Yeah.
Well, the club's got to get around him and say, well, you're going to get there, you're going to get to that point. And not everyone can be Nathan Cleary at 24 and win 4 comps. But when he first come in, the hype was on him, and it stayed on him obviously because he just got better and better. But there's some kids that coming through, there's so much hype on them, and if they don't perform, it's like they get pushed straight out the door because they didn't perform game 1, game 2. Well, give them some time.
Yeah.
Okay, big game. Before we get to the break, you got a big game. It's 12 all with 5 minutes to go. You can only pick one player to be alongside you to win the game. Who is it? One player that you played with.
Ooh, Clint Sikorsky.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Yeah, take the
Chop.
Take the penalty.
If you're listening, Chock too. Shout out to Chock.
Yeah. Well, Braith, ice that moment, the Tigers.
He did.
Yeah, he did too.
Yeah, that was massive.
Okay, who's the one player that always you can rely on to have a good night with?
Todd Carney.
Myself. Myself till I wake up the next morning.
Because he's got about 12 voices going on in his head at any given time.
12. There's 100 going on. No, probably Pierce. You always had fun with
Yeah,
Pierce.
you're good mates with Pierce, aren't you?
Yeah.
Let's get to the break. More of Sats and Rat. And Todd, are you going to hang around for a bit more?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Sats and Rat.
This is Sports Day.
Yes, it is Sports Day. On a Monday night, Sats and Rat, Toddy Carney in the studio as well. We're just sitting here talking about weirdos on Instagram and social media.
Wow. Yeah.
Ex-players who are just struggling with
what's funny?
struggling with anonymity.
Well, when you come into a team and you're the youngest in that team and you look up to these people, and then you actually grow up, and you sort of like, I think, I probably wasn't the right person to look up to. But you just see them as a footballer. You don't know them as a person.
Yep.
And you don't know, but like, again, there's a lot more good in the game than bad. But, like in everything, there's, a little bit of stuff.
Now, Rat, we've got a couple of texts here about some of the, before we do that footy scandal, some really good ones. G'day, boys. This is Raymond Terrace Rooster. Nice to hear you, Toddy. We would have gone better if you played at 6, Braith at lock and Mini at 1 up the Chooks. That's what happened in the grand final, didn't it?
Yeah, by the middle
Braith
of the year
played,
we moved. He went to left edge because we had Nate Miles
second row, didn't he? Yeah.
Braith played, left.
Fair side, yeah.
We had a great team, yeah.
Dunny said, this is a great get, talking about Toddy.
Did us in the prelim.
I'm feeling really good, he says. He doesn't say that, but it's sort of along those lines. What are some of the footy scandals on 0457 736 736?
Oh, well, mate, the Hammerhead says in the Penrith League, the St Mary's Rugby League Club had their ground rebuilt, and Arch Rivals Brothers Rugby League Club had the workers that were employed to redo St Mary's ground and buried a Brothers Rugby League jersey under the halfway line of the ground under their new turf. Oh. That's not bad.
I wonder if anything's happened, anything calmer or anything weird.
Well, I think if someone from St Mary's is listening, they're going to dig it up now.
Yeah. Got another one there from Orchie
yeah,
Bottle.
Orchie Bottle says, a rule we had at our club was if you had a big Saturday night and played Sunday and spewed on the hallowed turf of our home ground, the Grand Poobah back at the pub would send you to Skull 2 Schooners.
I remember when I was coaching at Byron Bay Red Devils, where Toddy is now.
You coached there?
Yeah, 4 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then on Tuesday
Never
night...
been the same since.
On Tuesday night, you'd have 10 players. Thursday night, 15, between two grades. And then on Sunday game day, you wouldn't have enough jerseys.
No, well, they get
just coming out of the woodwork.
They get match payments or something, did they? match payments.
It's so good. Hey, the new rule. So you guys weren't here. We spoke about it, which is the short dropout. If it doesn't go 10 or goes out in the full, it's a play the ball now as opposed to a kick a goal or a penalty, I should say.
Makes it a little harder to build pressure because some teams but they wouldn't do short kickoffs. Short dropouts, out of the risk of, the 2 points. But I like it. I want to see tries. I want to see, excitement, and I think that's a little bit more exciting than a long kick and just a forward just charging back into the defensive
what
line.
if I said to you one of the main reasons for the rule is to stop the long kick, halfback catches, it gives it to the front rower, possible head knock contact from a front rower running into the line. So what they're saying is if you do a short dropout and it doesn't work out, well, you're just going to play the ball. It's not going to be heavy contact from a front rower running back into the defensive line. Do we want to lose some of that gladiatorial part of the game?
Yeah, well, I wasn't real physical.
No, you're talking to a half and a winger.
Mate,
I'm glad you finally admitted you're a winger.
I made 3 tackles in my career. So, I don't know. You're talking about the longevity of players' careers. You're talking about something that's sustainable long term in the game because they've taken shoulder charges out of the game. Any contact in the head now, you get sent off. Like they're trying to protect players, and I don't think that changes the game that much. That I just don't think it affects the game that much, but it protects the players. So I think they're trying to do the right thing. I'm okay with it.
Toddy?
Yeah, I'm okay. But I think when the team does do the short kickoff and they don't get the ball back and the team that's obviously receiving the ball gets it, it's harder to tack from 10, 15 metres out than it is catching it on the 50, bringing it back to the 30, and then you
got 30 metres behind you.
30 metres behind you, and you're setting up your plays from wider out, so you give yourself more time. So it does muck up their play, but yeah, I'm a bit. I like the contact too. Not that I liked it when I was playing, but it is good to see him. But obviously for the players,
I wonder what's going to happen off the kickoff. So I wonder if they're going to make a rule soon where you got to have like 2 passes off the kickoff.
Potentially,
if they catch it and they
like under sixes,
put their knee down and they just take a tap or play the ball from.
We wouldn't see that, would we?
We could do. We could very well do because, they've done that in the NFL, haven't they? Hey, boys, remember, this is from Hopper from Wagga. Hey, boys, remember Toddy's time at the Roosters? Well, I took him at 40-1 to win the Dally M that year. Celebrated well. Go Manly.
How good's that?
Mate, where's your sling?
Yeah.
Hey, send it in. We'll get the details.
Now, Fitzy says, boys, I used to live next door to Toddy. Don't pay any attention to the media. He's one of the greatest blokes you'll ever meet. Did you ever introduce yourself to Fitzy? He's a grub.
So do I know
in
Fitzy.
Cronulla, I know Fitzy.
He's a grub.
He's a good
He's
dude.
an absolute grub.
He used to look after me dog when I'd go away.
Nice.
Hey, lads, I just heard the intro to the show. I'm so excited to hear Rab's voice, Rab's Warren. Look forward to it. Chrissy. Yeah.
I didn't. Did I? Was
yeah? That was on Toddy's
I missed it.
Intro.
Toddy's intro.
Oh right. Yeah, the intro to that.
Also, Fitzy also added, and he said, "Hey, Sats, is Rat and Fletch having a competition who can work the least?" It's a little bit like that.
It's not. Like I said, Sats, you might have to take one from the team here. The salary cap's where's their salary cap? You might have to take a pay cut to get me in here more.
I'm going to take my break now.
Hey, someone here also wants to know. Here we go. Is Toddy any relation to the tank on the flank, Justin Carney?
No.
No relation.
Played with Justin at Canberra.
He
and
did.
At, Salford.
At Salford as well.
Yeah.
Salford Red.
Yeah,
I've heard
Salford
Salford Red. I heard Salford's one of the worst places to live.
Salford.
England for me was a write-off.
Oh, mate. I talked about it
There,
earlier.
whole KR.
I talked to the boys on the run home this Arvo about my life. Well, I lived in England as a like a 8-9-year-old, and it was probably the worst 6 months of my life. Lived in the north of England in the mid-'80s. Just every time I got an offer to go over there and play, I'm just like, nah, not enough. You could not pay me enough to go back and live there. And then we had Richie Mathers at the Gold Coast.
Great guy.
Great fella.
Played for Wigan.
Wanted to go back and Leeds.
Leeds, yeah.
Wanted to go back and live there. I'm like, mate, what is wrong with you? Like, look where you are living right now, and you want to go back and live in Leeds? I've been there.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry to anyone from Leeds who's listening. Love your country, love your area. But
This is Sats and Rat on a Monday night with Toddy Carney.